If you've been following me for a while, then you likely know how much I love the HomePod. I remember watching WWDC back in June of 2017, and the feeling when it finally arrived here in Canada the following May. Apple was late to the smart home speaker market, but it's the sound quality in the HomePod that differentiated this from everything else. We all know it wasn't Siri. The HomePod works as a home hub, so HomeKit users can control their smart home remotely, and this adds an easy way to set scenes and control your various accessories with a simple Siri. Apple fulfilled their promise of an excellent room-filling speaker, especially when paired with a second HomePod. The OG HomePod provided deep bass and rich vocals, but with an original price tag of $449 Canadian, along with Siri's shortcomings, it didn't sell as Apple had hoped, even after an eventual price reduction to $399. In March of 2021, after the success of the much smaller and less expensive HomePod Mini, the original OG HomePod was discontinued. I think many of us grieved this loss. Now, the second generation is here. It looks mostly the same as the original, but there are some big differences. At $399 Canadian, it's still an investment, but today I'm going to walk you through all the new features and give you my opinion of the all-new HomePod. How does it perform and stack up so you can decide if this fits in your Apple smart home? Here is the new HomePod second generation in Midnight. The Midnight is basically black, but under certain light, some blue comes through. Here it is next to the Space Gray Mini. I really like the white, but since my OGs were white, I decided to go with black this time for something different. I mean Midnight. I was actually hoping to see some other colors like we have with the HomePod Minis. The navy blue is my favorite, and I think it would look great with this new HomePod. I was so excited when this came in the mail and I got to open it up for the first time. Setting up any HomePod is super simple, especially with the new U1 chip. It simply detects once your iPhone is close by and begins the setup process. I did actually get a couple of errors though when I tried to set it up. I got this error twice, but then it worked fine the third time. I've also noticed a couple of times that suddenly and intermittently it just disappears from the room in the Home app. It usually comes back after a few minutes, so it's not a big deal, just a little weird. I don't chalk this up to an issue with the new HomePod, but more iOS 16 in general. There's some major bugs here that Apple really needs to work out. As you can see, design-wise, this looks almost identical to the original. Side by side, you can see some slight differences. The new HomePod is a little bit shorter and the screen on the top is indented, similar to the HomePod Mini. One of the bigger differences that a lot of people have been asking for is a removable power cable. This can be helpful for cable management, or every once in a while you want to do a hard reboot, and if the outlet isn't accessible, then it can really be a pain, so this is a nice addition. On the inside, there are also some differences, starting with an updated S7 chip, which is the same chip used in the Apple Watch Series 7. The HomePod Mini has the S5 and the original HomePod an A8 chip. The faster chip should help improve sound performance by using advanced computational audio for better high dynamic range and acoustic performance, helping to compensate for the 2 less tweeters than the original, from 7 down to 5. The faster chip will hopefully also help Siri to respond and execute commands more quickly, the more time will be needed to make any conclusions there. The new HomePod has a 3-array microphone that's used to reduce echo and listen to your voice. Despite one less microphone, this continues to work well. Like the original, the HomePod is exceptional at listening and responding, even when I'm not right beside it or if I have loud music playing. Like the original and HomePod Minis, this will be Matter compatible, but unlike the original, this includes a Thread radio so it can be used as a Thread border router and work with those Thread-enabled accessories. Also like the Mini, the second generation model has the U1 ultra-wideband chip for handing off audio from your iPhone to your HomePod. I often go for a walk at lunchtime and listen to a podcast. When I come back to my desk, I can simply bring my iPhone close to the HomePod and continue my podcast right where I left off. I'm glad Apple released a new HomePod, but it was a surprise to me. The original HomePod was so expensive and it didn't sell even after they dropped the price. The Mini finally got Apple into the smart speaker game, which sounds nice for its size, but it's clear that it was the $130 price tag that made it sell. I wasn't surprised that Apple released a new HomePod. There had been rumors of this for years, but the fact that it's basically a slightly upgraded version of the original, but still for $400, I just find that kind of odd. I thought that we were going to see something different, perhaps with an LCD screen, but for whatever reason, I guess Apple feels like now, this time, it'll sell better. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Perhaps with Matter or the success of the Mini, maybe there are more people looking for a premium smart speaker. I'm really not sure. What I can tell you is that the second generation HomePod is geared towards people like me. If you are all in on Apple, then you're going to love this product. I have two of the original HomePods and I have them connected as a stereo pair. I use them to listen to music and I have them connected as my default home theater speakers. One HomePod sounds great, but two sound amazing. It's worth noting that if you have an original and you're thinking of adding a second gen model, you won't be able to connect those as a stereo pair, so that is a little unfortunate. Like the original, the new HomePod uses spatial awareness to detect where it is in your room, so it can fine-tune the audio for your space and provide even audio throughout the room. For example, your HomePod will know that there is a wall and it will reduce the sound in that direction to avoid any echo. Early reviews on the sound quality of the new HomePod have been positive, even with two less tweeters. The sound is clear and crisp with a good amount of bass, and there's no distortion even at high volumes. It sounds very similar to the original. I've been playing music back and forth between these HomePods and they're pretty hard to tell apart. So if you're a fan of the original, then it's safe to say that you're going to be very happy with this one as well.
There's a hole in the earth since you've been gone. Don't let me down. And there's a hole I'm naked on the floor.
Even when compared to my Sonos 5, a $700 speaker, the HomePod sounds great. No, it's not as good as the Sonos 5, but it's also smaller and about half the cost. I only bought one of these HomePods, so I can't tell you firsthand how much better it will sound by adding a second one, yet considering the similarity to the original, it's safe to say that it's going to sound pretty amazing, and this seems to be the consensus of other early reviews out there. The question I think will be, do you really want to spend $800 on a smart speaker? Maybe. And as expected, the sound quality crushes the HomePod Mini. It costs 3 times more and probably sounds about 5 times better. Probably no surprise there.
You feel the love, you feel the best. It's all the things you thought you had.
Like with other HomePods, this does not support Spotify. This does work with Pandora and of course Apple Music. I do think that adding Spotify support would help the sales of the HomePod, so maybe this is something we'll eventually see in the future. Again, those who are using Apple Music and all in on Apple, you're gonna love this speaker and you're not gonna have any issues. Also worth noting is that the HomePod supports lossless audio for high resolution audio included as part of your Apple Music subscription. No Bluetooth support either, so while iPhone users can AirPlay to send music to their HomePod, including Spotify, there's no way for Android users to do the same thing. Of course, no auxiliary line in or out here as well. From an Apple Home perspective, this gives you a home hub if you didn't have one before. It's a thread border router in case you didn't have one of those already. And aside from that, it's another smart speaker to listen to your smart home requests, like setting a scene, adjusting lights, locking a door, or checking the temperature. Oh yeah, so that's the other thing. This HomePod includes a temperature and humidity sensor that can be used for creating useful automations like turning on a fan if it gets too warm or humid, or adjusting your smart thermostat. Interestingly, with 16.3, the HomePod Mini's temperature and humidity sensor is now activated as well. This hidden feature was actually noticed shortly after the Mini was released, but it wasn't clear if Apple would ever activate that functionality. It's definitely a little odd, but hey, it works now. Another HomePod will also provide you with more intercom speakers. This is a feature we use multiple times a day in our house. This is really handy when you're wanting to get someone's attention from another room and you don't want to shout throughout the house. You can intercom to a specific room or a zone like the second floor or basement. One improvement I would like to see is synchronized playback when using this feature. If you intercom a zone or your entire home with more than one HomePod, they don't play in sync and it drives me a little crazy. Still, this is a very handy feature, and the more HomePods you have, the more useful intercom's going to be for you. If you don't need a high-end speaker with Apple Music or AirPlay support, then save the money and go with the Mini for things like intercom or handling your smart home requests. If you care about high quality audio though, then the HomePod 2nd generation will be a great choice. Heck, get 2 of them! This is an early review of the HomePod 2nd generation. I'm happy to see the original is back. I really like that those invested in the Apple ecosystem that care about exceptional sounding audio have an option like the HomePod. Ultimately though, that's how I view this. It's bringing back the original with some minor updates, but that's about it. And time will tell if this sells any better than the original. I wonder though what Apple could have in mind for the future. I haven't heard of an updated Mini coming, and I'm really not sure what they would update. I think an outdoor HomePod and maybe a version with an iPad-like screen could be really cool. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see. And what are your thoughts on the new HomePod 2nd generation? That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.